So let's talk about Hybe, SMJYP, and SM stocks. So there, it has been bad for this is their stocks year to date. Okay, so for Hybe, they are down 19.92. So year to date would be the beginning of the year to today. So I generated the screenshots just several, probably an hour just before I went live. So Hybe started the year at about 250, right around that. Um, Adesha said Suga will bounce right back. If they try to harass him, BTS will not promote their albums in Korea. They have a much bigger international audience. They go to USA. I absolutely agree. They should make USA their home for selfish reasons because I'm here. That is why I'm saying it. Someone actually, before I continue discussing this, someone actually sent me a hate message saying that I am framing US to be an ideal country. And like, and here are Americans complaining to me that I always knock on America. It's like, I don't know what to do. All right. Okay. Going back. So everyone is down year to date. So Hybe is down almost 20%, 19.92% year to date. SM is down 18.79% year to date. JYP is down 31%, 31.07% year to date. And then YG is down 3.68 year to date. Now, you also have to take into consideration the actual amount. Um, Sam L is saying that Fairly, I will visit you if BTS members move to the States. Okay, so this is kind of bad for everybody, but especially bad for JYP. It's 31%. So aside from the percentage, you also need to look at the actual amount. So Hybe, I'm sorry, I actually messed up. Like I covered Hybe, but they are currently at 193, and they started the year at about 248 or something like that. And then JYP is currently at 69, but they started at about 100. YG Entertainment started at about 48 or 49 or something like that, and they're currently at 45. And then SM started the year at about 92, and they are currently at 75. Okay, so you have to look at both the percentage and also the actual amount on how much they fell for this year. Now, many people are asking, is this an effect of Mama Roach on what she's doing? Are investors scared of investing in South Korean entertainment industry because of her? And because of what old pants are or old shorts are doing. Now, I will say that it is a part of it. It's very, very nerve wracking to put your money being an investor myself and having my own business. I definitely don't want to put my money in a country or in an industry that is not protected. I want my money protected. Okay. So the according to this is a quote from Howard Schultz, who is the former CEO of Starbucks. He said the instability means that the rules can change overnight, right? So if things aren't stable, if things aren't consistent, it means that however I set up my business now and the foundation that I will be laying down based on those rules can change anytime. You can't plan for success when the ground keeps shifting beneath you. So if you have a disturbance like this one, like this woman, it is natural, and then and there is no consequence for what she's doing. It's scary for an investor. Like, wait a minute, I don't think um I will want to put my money in a country that is just allowing people like this to get away with what they want and screw up my business, right? I know that a lot of you don't like it when an investor or a businessman talks like this, but like a business person talks like this, but it is reality. If I'm putting my money in there, it better be protected, right? So, however, somebody like her isn't that powerful. Somebody like her won't be able to just bring down an entire industry. You're giving her way too much credit for Something like this. Like imagine tanking a company, an established company, 31%, 19%, 18%, 3%. That's a big thing to do. Somebody like her uh, doesn't have that much power and brains to do it. The truth is that you have to look at the market from a wider perspective or a wider point of view. The South Korean market, one thing that you always need to remember is that the South Korean market tracks the US market. Why? Because of certain things like trade relations, financial market connectivity, USD being the reserve currency. The US dollar is the biggest reserve currency in the world. Strategic alliance, foreign investors, herding behavior, and investor sentiment. Okay. So the South Korean government, the South Korean market is so connected with the the US market. So in trade relations, South Korea heavily relies on exports to the US. We are one of their biggest markets when it comes to the products that they exports, and that in the products that they export, and that includes cars, cell phones, um, chips, many other things. The US, that this is a big business for them. So whatever happens here, if we stop buying, if people stop investing or whatever, it affects them because they're shipping their products to us. There is also the financial market connectivity. The U It's a globalized economy, so stock markets are highly connected. The US stock market, especially indices like S&P 500 and Nasdaq, serve as a benchmark for global markets. So if S&P 500 or Nasdaq are actually going up, international investors feel so confident that things are okay in the US, they're going to put in more money. Um, USD as a reserve currency, I'm sure that you know this already, but the US dollar is the reserve currency. The biggest reserve, it's not the only one, but it is the biggest reserve currency in the world. So whatever happens to the dollar is going to affect everybody because countries have a lot of dollars. They own a lot of dollars. So if the value of the US dollar goes down, then their reserve goes down. And there is strategic alliances. As you know, the US provides support to South Korea, and that's why North Korea can't do anything against them because we have bombs and a lot of firepower. Okay. And then foreign investors, global fund managers adjust their portfolio based on the US market movements. By the way, I'm not being like arrogant about the fact that the US dollar is the reserve currency in the world. It's just a fact. I don't think it should be the reserve currency in the world, but it is a reserve currency in the world. So I'm just stating a fact. Okay. So the foreign investors play a substantial role in the South Korean stock market. Many American investors are actually investing in US stocks, in South Korean stocks. Herding behavior. Investors often follow trends in major global markets. So if people start pulling out, they're going to start pulling out. And this Warren Buffett, for example, started selling his Apple stocks, people started selling their Apple stocks. And then the investor sentiment, when the US stock market rises, it signals a risk on environment, meaning if stock market goes up, people feel that, oh, okay, things are going to be okay, then I am also going to invest. So now the question is the thing that's happening with Hybe, YG, um, JYP, and SM, is this an effect of the US economy and the US stock market? Sort of, because as you can see, the three biggest music labels in the US as well, they're not doing too well, except for Sony. But for Warner Music, they're actually down year to date, 1.54%. Am I right? Yes. So, and then Universal Music is also down 3%. Sony is up, but not by much. It's only 1%. So this which we may consider to be the counterpart. It's not really, but the closest counterpart of SMYG, JYP, and Hybe, they're also not doing well. So there is some consistency in there. There is still some truth to the fact that the South Korean market follows the US market. Okay, why? Now the question is, why is this happening? Um, Political challenges in Korea is affecting the confidence of investors. Their president declared freaking martial law. It's not a very, as I've mentioned in the beginning, investors want their money to be safe. And martial law is not a very safe place for my money to go to. So if you're going to do that, I think I'm just going to start pulling out. And then there's the impeachment of that president, right? So they are trying to impeach. Well, they already impeached him, and then the acting president was also impeached. So these things are not very assuring to me if I'm going to invest my money. Again, why will I put my money in an industry or a country that is not stable? This is a quote from Richard Quest, who is a CNN business anchor. He said, investors have a simple rule. Money flows where it is safest, not necessarily where it is needed the most. Okay, remember that. I would rather, me personally, and other investors and other business people, they would rather invest their money in a country or an industry that is safe, because I know I can predict things, I can strategize, I can anticipate. I don't really, even if I know that there is a lot of market potential in another country, if that country is not stable, then I am not going to invest, even though I know there's a lot of opportunities there. In fact, entertainment companies in South Korea aren't the only ones that are down year to date. Samsung is down 33%. Imagine that. One of the biggest, probably the biggest company in South Korea, Samsung is down 33% year to date. Honda is down year to date 7.44%. LG, also a big company in South Korea, down 18.98%. And then Naver, their Google equivalent of Google, is down 12.57%. So this is not an isolated thing in the music industry, it's an industry wide thing. And when I say industry, I mean the stock market industry in South Korea. Everyone, well, almost everyone is actually going down. The country is in a political chaos and money will not be stable there. Also, do consider that at the end of the year, certain investors actually do certain things that will benefit them. For example, tax loss harvesting. Is there anybody who knows anything about this? Is there anybody who uses this for their taxes at the end of the year? 33% is a lot. It is a lot. That's a crash. Like, that's a technical crash. Um, what is so do you know what a tax loss harvesting is? Tax loss harvesting is when you make an investment and you lost money, that will actually be a tax write-off. So you can get refund from the government because you lost on an investment. You lost on an investment. So for example, I invested, this is just an example. I invested $1 million in Apple, just as an example. And then at the end of the year, I liquidate that investment, and it's now down to 750,000. The 250,000, part of that I can get back. So that's called tax loss harvesting. The government sort of refunds you what you lost. So some people are actually using that so that they can harvest their taxes. So they know that the taxes are down or the stocks are down, so they're going to liquidate so that they can, when they file their taxes, they can get some money back from the government. It's also a thin trading volume season, meaning there's not a lot of people buying and selling because it's the holidays. So when that happens, of course, the market slows down, prices don't go up. We call that the thin trading volume season. And some people are just taking profits. So if, for example, some people invested when, for example, they bought um, JYP stock when it was at, just an example, 45, and now it's at 50. They're like, okay, I'm going to liquidate so I can take some profit. So when there are a lot of people selling, the tendency is for the price to go down. So those things can actually affect the price. That can pull the price down of the stock. Mama Roach, however, isn't helping. She's not helping, but she isn't the sole reason for the South Korean market crash. Her case, however, emphasizes the importance of confidence in investing. Everything that she's doing, creating chaos, and then this group, old shorts, unilaterally saying that the contract is now terminated. All of these things, it's not very assuring for people like us, for investors. I definitely don't want to invest in a country like that, although she didn't single-handedly do it. But her case has to be used as an example. People have to learn from what is happening here. South Korea has to make it safe for investors' money. Remember, if I'm going to put my money in your country, I better be damn sure that you're going to protect the rights of investors. Okay, there is a possible tariff that's coming South Korea's way, depending on how the incoming president is going to do it. But there might be a tariff. They have to be prepared. South Korea tariffs the United States. So any US products coming into South Korea, they're slapping tariff on that. So it's more expensive. So one option I am seeing is that that Trump is going to say, well, you're slapping tariff on my products, I'm going to slap tariffs on yours. And then they need to, the most important thing, stabilize their politics. They have to sort this out. I don't understand why that man is still not arrested for what he has done. I don't understand why the man that took his place isn't making any kind of effort to get him arrested. I mean, you tried to put your country in martial law. You need to go to jail. So now the question of a lot of people is, can BTS bring the confidence back? I know someone was asking, aren't we asking too much from BTS? Can BTS bring the confidence back? We have to remember that BTS is an artist. BTS members are artists, sorry. BTS members are artists, not economic deities. They're not God, they're not magicians. So we need to expect them to create music, contribute to the cultural growth of their country, but let's not put the pressure of actually recovering the confidence of investors for the South Korean market to recover. That is absurd. These are seven men just trying to do their best to be able to go back to what they love doing. And now they are tasked to recover the confidence of the market. I think that is ambitious. There has been no single, no, that is not true. I think it shouldn't be the job of one group, let alone a musical group, to recover the confidence of investors for an entire country. They need to fix their own shit. That is what needs to happen if they want the market to if they want investors to come back to South Korea. Important points when you're looking at stocks, because this has been publicized and people are going to, especially the haters of Hybe, they're going to use this as a weapon against Hybe and BTS. They will profess that this is the beginning of their downfall. One thing that you always need to remember: never look at a stock in isolation. Look at the market, because there's so many things that affect the stock performance of a company. Number two, often people who write about stocks on social media, they're actually amateur journalists at best. Many of these people will screen cap the same thing that I just showed you, which you can actually access in Google. Just search in Google and that will show up. And they will claim that they actually invested in in Hybe stock or whatever. Most of them don't. Most of them don't know how to play the market. And they are here talking about how the stock is relevant, how why a certain stock is performing a certain way, not a good way. Those aren't good people to trust when it comes to stock market analysis. Third, investors hate instability of any kind. Stable corruption is better than organized honesty. So I've used this example so many times. I would rather invest in a country where I at least know who I need to pay to get things done. That's fine. If I need to pay somebody to get things done, I'll pay for as long as I know who to pay and I know how much I need to pay. But put me in a country who's just disorganized, don't know what's happening, that is bad. Any kind of instability and uncertainty, not good for money. Number four, the market is naturally volatile, but it is needed. So stock market, I know I've joked about it before that it's actually a Ponzi scheme, but it's a needed scheme. And also it's a legit one. I mean, it is, there are laws and regulations that are in place to protect the those that are investing. And fifth, always look under the hood. Profit reports, new technology, new investments. When a stock performs a certain way, ask yourself why. Why is it performing this way? Is there a new investment? I remember telling you guys about this company that went under during COVID. I think, was it Hertz? It was a cab company, a company, car for hire company, rent a car company. And they declared bankruptcy during COVID. And then the next day, the day after they cleared Chapter 11, their stock went up 1,000 times. Like, how how crazy is that? So for you, before you dive in, I mean, there's nothing wrong if you know the risk that you're taking, but before you invest, like, investigate why is it up 1,000% after declaring Chapter 11 or bankruptcy. So don't get easily manipulated. As one second, there is absolutely no sense in keeping up with the stocks on a daily basis unless you're actually an active trader. Juvelin Co. Miss Fairlane, thank you for holding this live. It's nice to start your year with peace and assurance. We can all agree that we are all worried for our seven Bangtan boys. Bang Luna, they do bring in new listeners all the time. The ones who leave are less than the new incoming fans. Actually, yeah, that's another thing um, here. So it's aside from stocks, there is a decline in physical album sales in South Korea. So K-pop sales, it's actually declining. As you know, sales is actually the biggest strength of K-pop because people buy a lot of CDs. Now, in the recent times, specifically this year, groups have been releasing so many versions of an album, physical album, not just the digital album, but physical album. They've been releasing so many versions already. I think the record is like 36 versions or something like that. So it is an effort to make their fans buy. But despite all of those things, the physical album sales is still down 19% this year. So from January to November, 93.14 million copies were sold, which is a 19% decline compared to the 116 million copies sold the previous year. So almost 20%. There were also only 20 albums that reached million sales status compared to, which is 13 lower than the previous year. So 2023, there were 33 albums that became million sellers, but in 2024, only 20 albums sold more than 1 million. So there is an obvious decline in sales. Pinayonse said Stray Kids releases versions for each of their 8 members, right? The sales of old albums also is an important indicator for the market. Referring so old albums refers to albums that were released more than 6 months ago. That declined 41.7%, almost 50, like very close to half already. It is important because it is a measure on, it indicates how many new fans a group is actually getting, because the tendency is if you're a new fan, you're going to buy older albums, the albums that you missed. And even that actually declined 41.7, which means there are less people that are becoming fans of K-pop. And then probably one of the strongest indicator is the, I would say, three most successful albums in, sorry, not albums, but three of the most successful um songs released in 2024. I included one of the girls because it was released like very, very late in 2023. So one of the girls was a collaboration. Apathy was a collaboration, and Who is the only one that is not a collaboration. It is a solo song. Now, if you want to include Standing Next to You, which is Jungkook's longest charting song at 19 weeks, that's also a solo song. I did not, as I've said, I did not include that. I only included 2024. I included one of the girls because it was released like in the last week of December. So these things sort of felt like they're actually just um they're using they're so focused on international activities and international success and recognition that they're actually not paying much attention to the local market anymore. They're not really staying true to what K-pop is, just because they're just trying to do their darnest best to get into the international market. But it is a sign that the interest in K-pop is declining, because sales is a very tangible indicator. However, sales and stock market, those are two different things. Stock market is speculation. As I've said, there is this one rent-a-car company that went under. They declared bankruptcy, chapter 11, during the pandemic, and then right the day after, their stocks went up 1000%. What's up with that, right? So those are two different things. Investors can invest in a market even if it's not performing so well, in a company even if it's not performing so well. However, it is better to actually use the sales decline as a indicator on how much the K-pop market is actually imploding. It has been unable to recover from everything that has from the departure of BTS. Basically, when BTS started going on a hiatus, the K-pop industry also started going on a hiatus. So good night, Danji. Nice. Someone, Grayson said nice. Sometimes I feel like I'm a little too old when I see these damn haters hating on BTS. I can feel my face getting red, wanting to tell them off. Okay. I bought all the versions of Happy. Love the stickers in it. I have all the versions as well. Bang has been stating for a few years that K-pop is on the decline, even though it looks like popularity is increasing. I don't know how people perceive its popularity to be increasing. I think the illusion is coming from, I think, because BTS as solo artists are doing so well, but that has been hampered by the fact that they are not able to promote. Like, Jungkook could have gone on a stadium tour. He wasn't able to do that because he's serving the military. Um, so and then of course there's the Blackpink members, but the unfortunate thing is that many of the successes that they're experiencing as of the moment, they haven't, they're collaborations, The Weeknd, uh Bruno Mars. Of course, those are good songs. I'm not saying they're bad songs. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with collaborating with a Western artist. Just want to put it out there. As you know, if you are a regular in the channel, you would know that Rose is actually my favorite Blackpink member. So I absolutely don't think there's anything wrong with her move to collaborate with Bruno Mars. I mean, like, who's going to say no to Bruno Mars, right? No one's going to say no to Bruno Mars. And I think that was a good move for her to actually, but it takes time for her to get to a level where she will not need any kind of collaboration and still perform well. It'll take time. This is her first album, give her a break. But even with that, just her first album, she still did well. But I think they are mistaking all of these things to be an equivalent or an indication of K-pop success when it isn't. These are just pop successes, like the success of Jungkook, of Jimin, of Suga, the critical success of RM, the success of Lisa and Rose and even Jenny. These are this does not translate to K-pop. These are their own successes. So I think people think that because these people are so successful, it also means the same thing for K-pop, when in fact they are separate now. I've been saying they're separate. BTS especially, they're not K-pop anymore. They're just global artists.